Good morning, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great weekend and feeling well rested as it is Sunday and the trading week starts again tomorrow morning. And I know it's been a while since I've made a video and I'm looking to get right back into it. And let's see how I've been doing. Something that started just recently. I was able to join the simpler trading team. Very pumped about this opportunity. It's a blessing. Now, if you have any questions or about what I'm doing or have any trading questions in general, you can join me in the training room from 10 a.m. Sorry about the chicken scratch. It's hard to draw with the mouse. From 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Got to put an A in there. Central Time, and I'm there to help you become a better trader. If anything's just not clicking, or if you have questions, and any of the other rooms are really busy, that room is typically smaller, and you can get a little bit more one-on-one interaction to clear something up. I can help answer anything from basic to advanced questions, or if you just want to see how I'm trading, I'll be in there. So yes, if you have any questions, come join me in the training room from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And also, if you're not a member of the Simpler Trading Room, there's a link in the description box. You go there and you could join any of the trading rooms that Simpler offers for $7. Get a $7 1 week trial. So when people always ask me about trading, I always say go ahead and check them out. And I've been saying it for years, and everyone doesn't want to make the investment. And I'm like, well, spend $7 and try it out for a week. And then even if they argue with me about it, I'm like, well, the coffee you just bought costs more than that. So what's $7 to try it out for a week? And even if you can't watch it live, you can watch the recordings. So just something to take note of if you're not a member and you want to check us out. But there's a ton of talented traders, and not eventually, but more than likely, one way a trader trades is going to match your trading personality. But enough about that. Super pumped about this opportunity, and now let's carry on. All right, so what I've been doing has been in the training room is been showing how to grow a small $2,000 account. So right here, I have here's my small Tastyworks account, and so far it's up 3,000 from 2,000. And these current positions, I'm probably going to cut square because it doesn't look like it's working, but I'll go ahead and cover that. Hood is somewhat working, but it needs to start moving faster. And I have a Disney spread on, which is working just fine. And then I bought some Apple calls right before the close based off of some prints, but I will go ahead and cover those here shortly. All right, so far into the first week of January, I took 10 trades. Let me get a different color there. All right, so I took 10 trades, 7 were winners, 3 are losers. So far, up 1,051. And I typically was holding them for 1 day. Just a lot of momentum was occurring, and that's not very typical, but the setups were saying that they wanted to move fast, so I went in out of the money short-term options, and it just really benefited it. So largest gain was 525, largest loss is 170. And the thing to really take note, and what I like to keep, is this profit factor. That means for every loss versus my winners, I'm typically winning 3.3 more versus to 1. So that's a 3 to 1 reward to risk so far in the year. And I'll cover those trade setups so you get an idea of how I do things and see if you want to join me in the training room. And you see what I'm looking at. So yes, those are the statistics. All right, we'll go ahead and review the trades that I did last week. All 10 real fast, very short and sweet. So you see what I was looking at here. There was a 2.5 million print that came in at 37.15. I saw it run across the tape. My EMAs were cross positive, and it reclaimed the 50 SMA, which is this blue line, which I'm going to fix. I see that is kind of hard to see. And you see here, this 2.5 mil is greater than its average 30-day volume. So that was making me think that and it's above the print, that it wants to go higher, that we may get a pop as it's been doing this long consolidation, right? More than likely pop to here, pull back, and then maybe a ginormous cup and handle. But yeah, we will see. Go ahead and go back. All right, so I closed stuff at 50%, the rest at 100%, or another quarter at 100%, and closed the rest at 120%. So yeah, about the out of money calls for 50 cents, sold 2 at 75, or sorry, I bought 5 at 50, sold 2 at 75, sold 2 at $1, and the last one at 110. And based off the print, you see it's still wanting to move, but I didn't have a whole lot of time in those options, and since they're short-term trades, you want to be able to get the quick pops. If they were longer dated, then I would have gladly have held on to them longer. But these were shorter term out of the money calls, and thetas were going to me. So just because of the print, you can see I entered on this triangle right here. I sold right there, and then sold right there. The pop into 40. And you can see it retraced, and maybe we'll continue higher. But I still like the setup. We'll be watching it for a re-entry if it presents itself. But you see I risked 250. I made 200 for 82% return overall. Lucid, I did get stopped out, though it's looking better now. But this is what it looked like when I entered. It was finding support, and it broke this trend line. Looks like it's rounding out. It's above all these prints. The 50 SMA was right above it, but I was like, all right, maybe it'll just pop above it. I did end up stopping out of this setup. I got in for 150 and got out for 65 for about 57% loss. But you can see it's actually kind of it's kind of recovering now. I'm actually having it on my watch list when I when I cover what I'm watching into next week. But I got out because it looked like looks like it hit the 50 and I was like, oh, maybe just going to tap it and roll back down. So small loss, but you could always re-enter. But if you look at it now, it looks like it's just basing. If it can get above this trend line, I want to look for a target of 50 and probably go about 2 to 3 weeks out. But I'll cover that here in a moment. All right, so that was Lucid, CCL for Carnival. I risked 200, got 37% overall. Basically, just a lot of prints were coming in. Broke these trend lines. It looks like a small cup of handle. Boom, bam, boom. And it was above the prints. So I was looking for it to move higher. And I know I'm covering these really quickly. It's just I have a lot to cover. And I just wanted to get through them so you can understand how I'm doing things. Because I know I'm doing things different compared to what most of the simpler team does, which is good. You always need variety. So you see I got 5 contracts for 41. And I sold 2 for 65. And then the last 3 for 52. And it came out to a total of 37% return on the $200. And that was all based on the prints looking for a pop. It is still going. And it just did a quick pullback and pop. So you see the next day, I didn't want to get caught up in a pop and everyone just sells it. So I entered on this candle. It popped up here around $2. And I was going to use that as my level, as my stop if it kept on declining. So I ended up getting out of it. Small winner. You got to take those quick winners out of, or not out of, but whenever the market presents itself, especially with these out of the money short to expiration calls. So yeah, small winner there. Roku was a good one. Kind of upset that I did a spread. Apparently the way to go on this one would have been just puts. It would have been a much bigger winner, but that was not the case. Just like it says right here, I mean, you don't need me to read it to you, but it was comes down. It was a bear flag setup. There was an unusual print at 550,000 at 224.55. I was targeting 200, thinking we may test these lows over a course of a few days. Well, with the FOMC minutes that came out on Wednesday, it just really put the wind behind our back and we got there really fast. So puts would have been the way to go, especially with implied volatility spiking. So the spread wasn't the best route to go, but you never know. But it's still, it was a $5 wide spread for $2. So we were risking $2 to make $3. So you can make 150% return if you would hold on to the whole thing the whole time. So we got the prints, a pattern, and now you just need it to play out, right? Well, I ended up getting in for $2 and closed it for 55% return. Let me pull up the daily chart. So just like it says on the arrow right here, this is where I entered on that candle, because here was the whoops, let's redraw that line there. So it broke below the trend line. Oh, it's not a straight line, but it cut below it. It hit the $200 price level, and that's where I got out, but clearly it has more room to go. Could have got out for a much bigger win, but it was hitting the level I was targeting and got out. It just got there a little too fast. But nonetheless, 55% winner overnight. All right, PLTR. I made 37% on this one. It was, see, we got a bunch of prints coming in on this low base. So price came down, relatively equal highs and lows as basing. A bunch of prints came in. And then once it got rejected again on this candle, I went short and then I'm going to flush down. I scaled out along the way. So yeah, I got in, or yeah, it was a spread that I got in for 99 cents and scaled out, closed it for 50% on the hammer candle. You see how it spiked down on this 30-minute chart? So it came back down and the buyer started coming back in. All right, so I took my 50% and was ready to move on. 50% overnight is not that bad of a trade. PLTR, Uber. This one I'm thinking I may go short on it. I may have been wrong on it, but this is how I was looking at it. So I entered the 44.42 bull put spread for 99 cents, looking to get about 50 to 60% return on it. I did end up stopping out, so you have this lower trend line as it's going down. All these prints coming in. It's reclaimed the 50, kind of like a cup and handle formation, like I wanted to go higher, right? Well, the problem is the next day it went right up to that 200 SMA. See right here. And I should have scaled down. I was like, oh, I'll hold on to it, but I didn't. Next day spiked right up to that 50 SMA and then started just kept going down. And so that's when I took a loss on it because I was all right, maybe it's not going to break it. But now I'm thinking about maybe entering a short position on it with all those trades above it, but I'll go over that setup here in a minute. I did get stopped out of Disney as the market started to turn from the minutes because it was looking like it was going to go back down. So this would look like when I entered to reclaim the 50, and I was like, all right, maybe it's going to go higher, but something to consider. So these prints happened on this day, so I'm not worried about it too much. But right here, all these prints right here are coming in right here, pushing it higher. And now it's reclaiming the 50. So I was thinking that it would go higher, obviously. I entered a spread on it. Oh, sorry, I bought calls and took a 53% loss on it as it looked like it was going to turn around and come back down. Obviously, it did not because I ended up re-entering the position, and I'll cover that here in a moment. I did get some out of the money puts on figs, and you see right here. I got them for about 48 cents. I got some at 50 and 46. Sold half at 75 and the other half at 90. Bringing in a total average of 71% return overnight. And basically it's the same thing as Roku. Had a bear flag set up. There was a 2.2 million share print right there. And it was breaking the trend line, so I went short. And then I ended up getting a gap down and scaled that along the way, so this is what it looks like. I pull up a 30-minute chart. So as I was breaking that level, I got a short on those puts right here, scaled out there, and then as it bounced and recovered, it's all right, get out there. That was also overnight. All these trades are just overnight. Sometimes they don't happen that fast, but it's just been a little lucky, I guess is what we could say. All right, this was an overnight Lotto trade. I alerted to the simpler trading community, closed it for a 60% return, and I was looking for a continuation lower. So look here, I missed the larger time frame short, so there was a bunch of prints coming up at these highs that we couldn't seem to break. We broke this trend line on this candle, and then on this day, entered short, and then you see this day it obviously went down. I should probably, to better explain this setup, pull up a different chart for you. So to show what I was thinking here, pull up the 15-minute chart. All right, so this is the day that I alerted the trade. So price came down, spiked up, and there was this print level here. It tested it and failed and shot down. When it broke this low is when I entered the position, that on money debit spread. And then the next day, it still closed below this print level. So I was all right, hold on, and it was a Lotto trade. Well, you can see how it still held support and it spiked down. I was thinking 270 was going to be resistance. This is when I alerted everyone we should get out and take our 60%, which is pretty close to what should have happened. And so yeah, 60% overnight. Ain't too bad. All right, and then I did re-enter Disney. So this is what it looks like now. So it reclaimed the 50. So it's going up. So this candle, this green candle right here, when I exited, was all the way like down here. So I did get out at the bottom, but it's okay. They're out of the money short-term calls. So that's why I decided to get in a spread. So all, like I said right here, the volume's coming in. It reclaimed the 50 with more volume. So I'm expecting it just to kind of cruise on higher, not really pop up, but cruise up. And so that is why I ended up doing a spread on a credit spread. And just if you're a risk graph type of person, like I am, well, that is not what I have. Oh, that's Nvidia, that's why. All right, yeah, so I got in for 290 credit. So I'm risking on two positions, risking 420 to make 580. And all I have to do is slowly creep on higher. Just nice and easy and steady. So let's see how this goes. Back to trades. All right, that's Disney. Beyond Meat was a big winner. This one I'm actually looking to re-enter. And this is a good little thing. Usually you don't get a whole lot of prints on Beyond Meat. But as it says right there, there's weekly support at 62.73. And it spiked down. Well, we had this bullish engulfing candle right there. Or it's not even really bullish, it's more of a tweezer candle, meaning it opened up right at the lows and did nothing but spike higher, engulfing that candle on above average volume. And you see that as it was spiking, that the prints that came in that day were greater than the 30-day average volume. So I'm thinking accumulation, and now we're going to turn higher. When I still like it for a bullish ride, I'll cover that when I look at cover setups I'm looking into next week. But I'm thinking it wants to retest this high at least around 80-ish. I'll cover that when I go over trades I'm looking at into next week. But that was a solid trade. And what happened is I only bought two got 2 at 210, sold 1 at 345, and then I put out a good to cancel order for 6, which should have been around the $75 price target, but that is not what happened. And this is what it ended up happening. So bought the calls on this candle, scaled out, and then managed to get out at the top. So nice and easy overnight. It was closed half for 50, then 173%. Not too bad a deal. Actually, I think that day we closed, the day it entered, got out for 60% return that day. Now I'm short, long square, same setup as Beyond Meat because it hit weekly support, this red line. And there was some dark pool activity, 690,000 shares at 144.60. And I'm thinking maybe a volume bottom with the volume coming in right here, and it's hitting the trend line, may bounce, but that may not be the case. And I'm just looking for a quick pop to the 8 EMA. That's all I'm looking for. And I may not get that, so I may end up cut that one. Hood also had prints come in. This is what I'm seeing here. This is all from, obviously, my trading journal. So we got 1.2 million prints at 15.5, closed on a hammer candle. Volumes ramping higher. The average daily volume is only 16. And so it's starting to look like it may be wanting to go and close on a hammer candle. Just looking for it to pop. I do have some 1750 calls for 50 cents that expire this week. So, or sorry, they expire on the 21st. I was looking at the wrong thing. So hopefully get a pop up. If not, I am wrong. And then Apple was saying I may be a little too early. I bought 2 calls in the small account as it's 7.2 million shares. Print hit at 172.41, right at this support level at the 34 EMA. I'm starting to think it may be selling, but guess we'll see. But yeah, that's just the breakdown of the trades that I did last week in that small account that got it up to 50%. If you have any questions, please come ask me in the training room at 10 a.m. on Monday. Now, what am I looking at into next week? I got several. Doesn't mean I'll take them all, but I'll watch them. So I am liking Lucid again. So I'm thinking for Lucid, is this going to be a slingshot squeeze? So no reason to rush it. Let me change the color. But yeah, it looks like a slingshot squeeze wants to go higher, but it is consolidating. So if it can break this trend line, I am going to look to target 50. And the reason being, let me cover that. The reason, of course, everyone wants to know why I'm doing something, which is important. All right, so here's the thought process. There's a lot of prints coming in, big size, in this accumulation phase. If it can break that trend line, I believe all this is buying, and it wants to retest 50 at least. So I'll probably do a spread on this one. I don't necessarily think it's going to ramp up higher. And well, I don't know. It isn't a squeeze. Maybe I'll target 55. Target the highs again. I put them 3 weeks out, month, target 55. Pretty good return there. But we'll see what's happening at the time of entry because first it has to break that 50 SMA and that trend line. So that's what I'm watching on Lucid. So I'm in Hood. I recover that Beyond Meat. What I'm looking at now. Same concept is it's hitting that weekly squeeze here. Or sorry, hitting that weekly support. Maybe a slingshot squeeze at the slingshot squeeze going higher. Yeah, so that's how it closed. But the volume is still, we're still closing. I'm not too worried about this candle because here are the prints and we're still closing above them. And it's above this trend line as it's basing here. I think that's going to test this gap up here about 85. just going to take some time. So I definitely put a spread on and see if we can get up to that area. That's what I'm looking at doing. So if it may do this, test it, pull back about 30%, break it and go, and then retest this level. But we have to wait and see. But I am looking at re-entering this one going into next week. All right, that was around me. Tesla, I'm just keeping an eye on it. There were some prints on it as it's slowing down. It's not very clean. It is back below the 50, closing below, but there was a 450,000 share print at 1065, which it closed below. It's going down here. Maybe it wants to retest this gap entry again. I don't know. Just keeping an eye on it. It's not the cleanest thing, but there is some prints coming in on that. Just another one I'm keeping an eye on. Sarah SQ, Uber. Like I said, I got shaken out of that as it spiked up to the almost the 200 SMA the next day, then came back down. If it gets back below this trend line, I'm thinking it might go back down and see the bottom. Because maybe it is selling. So I got in on this candle, spiked up, stopped out as it's turning around. Now it's back below the 50. Maybe all these prints right here, there was 1.84 million, 2.8 million, and we're all back below them. And we're back below here, and we're hitting the trend line, so we may come back down and visit this level, 36-ish, into earnings. So map it out how you wish, but I am expecting maybe Uber will go down. I might go short it, but we got to see how the market opens up. But that's an idea I am watching. Nvidia, still a good short. If it does a pop up to the 21 EMA, maybe be a good short down because it is in a squeeze. That's starting to lose momentum down. So, and you have a lot of volume above you. So, supply and demand. QCOM is looking really good for a short. All right, a few things I'm working on. QCOM, you see that it's in a squeeze. Not the cleanest squeeze, but it did go bullish, and now it's starting to lose momentum. Pull up. Okay. Now why? All right, QCOM had a pretty strong run up. See this pin? It looks like a dragonfly doji up at support, or sorry, resistance. At that same spot was 425,000 shares at 129.96. And then, and I'll zoom in on this so we can read what that is. But here's this trend line where it touched that peak, and this bearish engulfing candle, which encompasses all of these days on above average volume, or on the wick day anyways. It looks like it wants to come down and at least test. I'd say the 50 SMA is a area to get out because I'm not expecting a crash, but definitely maybe a pullback. If it, let's check out the, so yeah, definitely test probably around 175. It does have a, what time frame do I have on? 195-minute squeeze going on. The 8 EMA is back below the 21. Definitely a short-term turnaround, I think anyways. Okay. Hog was a good trade. I'm just going to keep an eye on that one. Now that squeeze is now bullish, but there is all this resistance above you. Just keep an eye on it to see where it's going to go. MU also looks like it wants to retrace to the 21 EMA. Actually, I didn't show those QCOM prints on a different time frame so we could see them. I guess you won't be able to see them. They're too close together. All right, so it is 400K at 185.17 and 405,000 at 185.30. So very close together. And we're below all those prints. So on the wick higher, selling occurred. And now we have these prints right here pushing it down. It's below the trend line. To me, it looks like it wants to pull back to at least the 21 EMA for a reversion to the mean type of trade. All right, covered hog. Same with eBay. Same setup. There was, or sorry, not eBay, MU, Micron, sorry. There is 1.4 million, 1.2 million, and 850,000, all at this 95, we'll round it to 25 level. And something to consider is what the average volume is 21 million. So not too high, but it's breaking the trend line. The 4 EMA, which is this yellow, the 8 EMA is this blue, is what I use for the momentum side of things if it's starting to look heavy. And there's also, if you're familiar with wick-off chart patterns or candlesticks, it's based off of a lot of volume as well. So it broke out, has a huge pin bar close at the bottom on, I'm pretty sure, above average volume. So 3 days in, so it'll be that candle or this volume candle. So that may be a short-term top. Swatching MU for a short as well. eBay. This one, so this one might be finding a bottom to turn around. It's in this wedge. So note the trend line there and the trend line there. The squeeze is now bullish, starting to go higher. So there's a squeeze. This line right here is weekly support. That's what it looks like on here. So there was a 1.5 million print and a 406,000 print. All right, here, and we're above all those prints. We're not below them. But it may also consolidate a little bit before that squeeze gets going. So if we get above this trend line right here, and it could be an inverse head and shoulder within the wedge, you know what I mean? And then it can probably at least test the 50. That's what I always look for. If it's turning around, test the 50, it'll probably stall there before going higher. So target the 50. The difference is how long it's going to take to get there. At this point, depending how long this wedge takes, it may just have to get to it and break above it. But we'll see. Keep an eye on it. I kept got Adobe here. I need to get rid of this. But this is a good example of the same setup. There was prints. And the pattern was a rally. So it came down, rallied to the 8 EMA. These prints. Oh, it hit the 200 SMA with the bearish engulfing candle and rolled back over. All right, Comcast, I am liking this setup as well. So actually, I'll pull up the other chart. So Comcast, there's been a lot of prints coming in on Comcast. Earnings is coming up. There was 9 million at 48.86, which is about right here. It's hitting this lower trend line. You see that 50 SMA, the blue line, has been holding as resistance. It's accumulating, and it looks like it at least wants to retest this lower line if it fails, because this is weekly support, the red line, which is right where this print came in at this bottom. So I think at least a short-term target down to about 48 is liable if it wants to break it. It definitely looks like it wants to go lower, but there is earnings coming up. So maybe a short-term trade going lower. But if it breaks this wedge, I do think it is buying and will go higher. And then Lowe's, another one that looks like a good short. There's a lot of good looking shorts out there. Right, just looking at it from a different perspective, it has been making a strong run. Kind of does look like a little bit of a head and shoulders. It broke this trend line. It is in a squeeze that now has lost momentum. It's below the 21 EMA. All right, and the reason here is there was 1.5 million share print at 259.20. And the reason this raised a lot of flags is because the average 30-day volume is only 3.5 million. So this print alone is almost an entire day's average of volume. And it was right here at the top. We have not got above it since then. Since then, it's been trickling lower. It's now below the 21 EMA. It's engulfed, or not engulfed because it really wasn't, but this candle is just going down. Looks like trend is broken. Maybe test the 50 SMA and then this level if it wishes to continue lower. Just some things to consider because I know they had a good run and they were on a lot of people's watch lists, but it looks like it might be selling at the top. Lots of volume, a big print. Maybe just going to rebalance out a little bit. But I believe that is it. That's all I'm watching into next week. The main ones I'm watching I have highlighted in blue here. I like Lucid, BYND, QCOM, eBay I liked, and Adobe could be erased. And I like Comcast and Lowe. Those are my main watches in the next week unless something else changes. Also, something to keep an eye out for is the Darkpool, right? So we're kind of like in this wedge going higher. We are below the recent Darkpool prints that came out on Thursday and Friday. Here they are. I know it's jumbled up. Nonetheless, just note that we're below them. And there is a lot of volume that came in on these days, and we're below all that as well. So we're going to have to obviously break this level to continue higher. But if we break this lower trend line, we may go a little further. But it's tough to say. Who knows? We may bounce here at this lower trend line, which is all the 50 SMA. Only time will tell. But there's a lot of volume right there, and we're below the recent Darkpool prints that occurred last week. But there hasn't been extreme buying in gold or the bonds or the VIX or anything like that as well. Either something I'll be keeping an eye on. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any questions, write them in the comment section below or visit me in the Simpler Trading training room at 10 a.m. on Monday or Monday through Friday, anytime you think you can be in there. I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. But until then, I'll see you tomorrow and take care.